Well, you just heard Florida State basketball. They lose to Virginia. Welcome into a special program here on a Saturday evening. We do it again, back-to-back weeks here in Jacksonville. ESPN 690 Game Day live from the DUUUVAL house. Brent Martineau, Kasey Kuhrts on the front steps. Brian Middleton is obviously back in the studios pushing all the right buttons. Brent Martineau and Kasey Kuhrts will take you all the way until 8 o'clock here, right up before kickoff. And then ESPN 690 has a special post-game show, DUUUVAL post-game show, coming up tonight, 11:30 on ESPN 690, all the platforms, and WOKV 104.5 on the FM dial. So get your thoughts and comments ready. All the emotions will flood out at 11:30. We'll stay on until about 1:32 in the morning. Whenever you want to stop talking, we'll stop talking too. But for this one now, holy cow, I wondered, would the cold temperatures keep people a little back? What would this crowd be like? Could you do it again? Did you have the stamina to do it again from last week? And the answer is, hell yeah, you did. This is an electric crowd once again. We're at the DUUUVAL house, so everybody walks by. It's just a flood of people walking by, signing our "It Was Always the Jags" Dewey Wingert sign this time around. I just made my way over from the slab where Bold City Brigade was. That place is rocking. Brad Meester's over there. Josh Scobie's over there. And, man, Kasey Kuhrts, we were here last week, and we just put this thing on replay and did it again.
We did, yeah, 2 straight weeks. I'm not mad at it. And to your point, Brent, yeah, the fans have turned out, and we still got plenty of time before kickoff. We got fires going over there, which is a good idea tonight. Maybe be careful with setting the rest of the city on fire. But, be careful with that. But, yeah, Jacksonville brought it again, and it's a very similar situation to last week. We've only seen maybe 4 Chargers fans, not a ton out here. Dude in a 49ers jacket, though.
Yeah.
Yikes. By the way, Brock Purdy forgot how to play football. I don't know if you've seen that.
I did not, but I predicted it could happen a little bit.
Yeah, well, you hate to see it. But anyway, the point of the story is Jacksonville showed up again. A couple hours still to go till kickoff, and it's rocking down here yet again, Brent. Gotta love it.
It's pretty cool. You said it. Got some hand warmers out they gave us here. The Teresa
I'm using
Spencer,
them too, to be real.
she gave that to us, and then also John Phillips has passed by. So I got everything going here, and it's a fantastic crowd. But you really don't need to the warmers yet. I mean, I think it will cool down in that stadium later tonight. We're probably talking about temperatures getting in the upper 30s, but right now it's not too bad. And I think the big thing is when we came in here at 4 o'clock-ish, the wind was still blowing. The wind was howling. And I think that's changed. It's kind of died down a little bit. I mean, if you had flags around here that we were looking at, they were not sideways, but you could really tell the wind was blowing. I thought walking in today that it could really impact the football game if it stayed like that from a kicking standpoint, from a passing standpoint. I don't think that's going to be the case. Mike Borish has told us all week by the time kickoff and then the second half comes, winds will die down. So I don't think elements will be a factor at all in this football game. Be a little chilly for the fans, but I think the players are going to love this weather. This is awesome football weather.
I don't know. You got 2 teams that this isn't their football weather. The Chargers like to play inside, and the Jags favor the heat over the cold. At least that's what they have to favor. So it's good football weather, and if you're the Chargers, it's bad for them because this is running the football weather, Brent.
This could be running the football weather. Travis Etienne, how important will he be in this game? We've broken this game down every which way for the last week, right? But we know the bullet points are this. We've got 2 fantastic quarterbacks, 23-year-old Trevor Lawrence, 24-year-old Justin Herbert. I expect those guys to put on a show. I know the defenses of both teams have been playing increasingly better as of late, but I still think these guys on the offensive end are going to have their way to a degree. It's an offensive game. I think this will be fireworks galore tonight on the offensive side of the football. We know this. Doug Peterson has been here before. They love him. They revere him. Nobody has turned an organization so quickly, maybe in the history of the game, not just the history of Jacksonville, considering what he walked into, to what it is right now in the playoffs. 2 years ago, the Jags hired Urban Meyer. 2 years ago to this day. And then they fired him less than a year later, hired Doug Peterson, and now they're in the playoffs. That is fast in the NFL. Life comes at you fast. Brandon Staley, your guy. Not really. Is he the Chargers guy? Are we going to ask those questions coming out of this game tonight as Shad Khan enters the equation, I think, here in Jacksonville? Yep, Shad Khan's arriving once again right behind us. He just went by as he gets to TIAA Bank Field. Happy man last week, presented the game ball. Will he be happy again tonight? So Brandon Staley makes a decision to play his starters last week. Mike Williams gets hurt. Joey Bosa also was hurt in the football game. And now people are really criticizing Staley, who already came with some criticism because he does some quirky things and they don't always work. And they also have a very good roster, and they're just finally making the playoffs. So they've been somewhat disappointing. So the Jags have an edge in the coaching realm, or at least how they feel about their head coach right now.
Oh, they definitely have an edge. I mean, just from X's and O's to playing for your coach and all those things, they have the edge. And I'm telling you, man, I wonder now, Justin Herbert on the flight to Jacksonville, and still today, got to be sitting there thinking, why did we play this man? I need to throw this man the football 8 times a game. Why was he out there in a meaningless game? So I think this is one of those games where if it doesn't go well and they don't figure out a way to win, I don't care what anybody says. Brandon Staley making Mike Williams play in that game and gets injured, that's losing your job type stuff. Because it's the playoffs. You play all season for the playoffs, and they play their players in a meaningless game. When they walked out on the field against the Broncos, the Ravens had already lost. It was already over. They could not advance their seed. They could not lose their seed. Played their guys anyway. Brandon Staley, that's a whole mess. You know how I feel about him. But without a doubt, the advantage in the coaching game is for Doug Peterson. It's for the Jags. And we know they want to die for their head coach. Literally, Andrew Wingard said it. I don't know if they feel that way about Brandon Staley.
Yeah, here's the other part of this now, and you mentioned it, the run game. So you have Travis Etienne, who's had his bumps in the road, but he also is almost 1,500 yards from scrimmage. He can break it just like that. They will utilize the run game today. I think first downs are critical. Austin Eckler, excellent back, but they don't try to run the football much. Even if they could, they don't really try. They're going to throw it. They're going to keep it in Herbert's hands. They're going to dump it to Eckler. So 2 different styles of backs, but the Jaguars have an ability now to have sustained drives, 14-play drives, 2 of them against the Chargers back in week number 3. Can they duplicate that a couple of times in this game? 12, 13, 14 plays, take 7, 8 minutes off the clock, keep Herbert off the field, and punctuate them, by the way, with scores, not field goals. Those are things to watch in this game. I think that's a hard thing to do in the NFL, but I think the Jags have shown an ability to do it at times this season when they run the football and gain good yardage on first downs.
Yeah, absolutely. And the key is to run the football against the Chargers, but it's also for Travis Etienne the key to hold on to the football because that has been a problem this season. But again, all of that goes away. I said it last week, didn't have the opportunities to do it, but it'll go away this week. We won't even talk about the fumbles if you run it 22, 25 times, hold on to the football, maybe a touchdown because, Brent, if they run it 25 times effectively with Travis Etienne, if we look up at the end of the game and he has 25 carries, I can't imagine it's a game that the Jags lose.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he could get up into that touches-wise at least, right? I mean, he still had 45 yards and 30 yards receiving in that football game against the Chargers when James Robinson had the bulk of the work and had a 100-yard day. So interesting to watch. And then we've got the receiver stuff. How damaging is it for the Chargers to not have Mike Williams? Last time these teams played, they didn't have Keenan Allen. So one of their stars out again, a break for the Jags, of course. And on the other side, all their guys are healthy. I have no idea which guy's going to have a good day, but you trust one of them is going to have a good day. Ingram, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, even Marvin Jones. Somebody is emerging today as the go-to guy. Last time they played the Chargers, it was Zay Jones.
It was Zay Jones. And you mentioned a guy there, Marvin Jones. That's the guy that I'm looking at this week because I think we talk about Zay Jones. We talk about Christian Kirk. Marvin Jones kind of flies under the radar there. He's their third option. I get it. Marvin Jones has played a lot of football waiting for this, right, to get into the playoffs. A lot of losing for Marvin Jones. I look at this as his opportunity to really put that exclamation point on his career. A lot of good stats in the regular season, not a lot of playoff opportunity. I bet he's the guy tonight that makes a big play for Trevor Lawrence and the Jags.
I want to bring Brian Middleton in here back in the studio, get his thoughts overtime with Kuhrts and Middleton each and every day on ESPN690, 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. And Brian will anchor our coverage later tonight for postgame festivities along with Aaron Schachter, Justin Kuhrts, and myself and Kasey will be in the locker room and down here at the stadium jumping in starting at 11:30, the DUUUVAL postgame show on ESPN690 and 104.5 WOKV. And Brian, how do you see this thing shaking out? We just put up the bullet points, of course, the quarterbacks, the coaches, the receivers, the running backs, even a little bit on the defense. Where do you think the game flow of this is, and what stands out to you going into this matchup tonight?
I think it's going to really depend on the defenses at this point. And so you guys have made some great points, especially when you start with the quarterbacks. That's the sexy part of this matchup. That's what the big draw is, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and we get that. And then you look at what both offenses have done for the most part in the second half of the season. The Chargers, they had a 4-game winning streak. at one point, and then the Jags winning their last 5, and really looking good in some of those games offensively. And even when Trevor didn't play well, you look up at even like a Houston-Texas game and they have 31 points, and you're like, okay, things seem to really be coming together. So, my viewpoint is, which defense can bend but not break more often? Because when you have guys out there like a Christian Kirk and a Zay Jones and Marvin Jones and Travis Etienne and Jamal Agnew, who I think is going to be, who has the potential to be a big wild card in this game, that's a lot to worry about. That's a lot of firepower. Even if you weren't thinking that as you started the season when you looked at the Jags, the way that the maturation process for Trevor has gone, they definitely are dangerous as far as the Jags are concerned. And then we don't have to go back over, all the pieces on the Chargers. So whatever defense can hold their own for the most part, because it's not going to be, in my opinion, it's not going to be like a 10-7 game. I think that is going to be the team that sets themselves up for the victory the best.
Well, I think, it's interesting. I go play this game out in my mind, and I'm sure Doug Peterson and others have to do that, right? You play it out, and how do you envision it going, right? I mean, could you see a high-scoring affair? I do. That's if things go kind of well and you play well, you call the right game, you catch the football, you don't turn it over, everybody gets their possession, some quick strikes. I mean, it's hard to get to 37-33, what I think it could be if you do have long sustained drives. You're taking possessions off the field, really, and shrinking the game. But could this be a defensive game? A lot of people are bought in on the Jags defense and also the Chargers defense in the month of December, playing a lot better football. They have star power on that defensive side. And they see a game that could be 27-23, 24-21, 23-20. Man, I have a hard time getting there, but certainly could play out that way. Things get tight in the postseason, Some teams don't like to just open it up and throw, risk out there. These two coaches seem to like to do that. Will they do it tonight? Or could we get these defenses at the end of the day saying, hey, they're a lot better than anybody anticipated. This wasn't just a fluke the last month. They're pretty good.
Yeah, and I think the defensive part of the game will come for the Chargers at least, and it comes down to the Jags offensive line. Can you keep Joey Bosa? Can you keep Khalil Mack away from Trevor Lawrence? And if they are unable to do that, that's when a guy like Derwin James can feast. That's when Asante Samuel, who we've had some arguments in the chat if he's overrated, if he's underrated, what the situation is this week, but I know he's a talented player. And if you have to let them cover for less time, then they're probably going to get you at some point in the football game. So the Jags offensive line is going to be big on how the Chargers defense will play in this game, because if you let Joey Bosa get eaten, it might be a tough night for you. On the flip side of that, Doug Peterson, you mentioned it earlier, can't settle for field goals. So I wonder if we see Doug go back into that real aggressive on fourth down that they were at the early part in the season when they beat the Chargers handily, by the way, in L.A. Because I think that might be one of these games, Brent. They can't settle for field goals because it's not Mahomes on the other side, but I'll tell you this, if they give Justin Herbert the ball back with a minute and a timeout, I'm not going to feel good about that.
Guys like Mahomes and even now Josh Allen are scary. Like, you fear them. Is Herbert to that point where you actually fear him as a defense and as a coordinator and as a football team? He's very prolific. He's good. We know that. He's super talented. There's a lot to like about him. This isn't his merit I'm asking about. But some players are really good, and you're afraid of them. Like, people aren't afraid of Trevor Lawrence yet. He's blossoming before our eyes, but I can't imagine people are afraid of him. Now, the Titans were a little afraid of the offense last week, you could tell.
Yeah.
But are people afraid of Justin Herbert? Are the Jags going into this game frightful of Justin Herbert to the idea of, hey, we have got to sustain drives to keep him off the field?
I think so. I think you should. I think that's how you should operate, because when you have a quarterback on the other side like Justin Herbert who can make every throw, and he's proven that. Late in the game, early in the game, tough throw, easy throw. Justin Herbert makes the plays when they need to be made, and he's done it a couple times this season in comebacks in the fourth quarter. He made a throw against the Titans that I'm still thinking about. It was a great throw. So, yeah, if I'm them, you need to stay on the field as long as you can. Now, it can't end in field goals, because I think field goals in this game is not going to play itself out. You have to get 6 when you can get them. Obviously, if you kick 55-yarders, shout out to Riley Patterson, who is healthy, thank goodness, because I was worried about that earlier in the week. But, yeah, Brent, I would be worried about Justin Herbert getting the football back with a chance to win the game. It's not what you want.
Yeah, and I think that's why I kind of have it at 37-33, because I say if he gets the ball back late, you better hope that you need them to get a touchdown and not a field goal, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's definitely one. And the rest of the teams you play in the postseason are like that. You better be up by more than 3 points, because they're coming down to kick a field goal if they still have the ball in their hands. I mean, the Chiefs are doing that. The Bills are doing that. The Bengals are doing that.
especially in
Probably
the AFC.
the LA Chargers are doing that. Now, Baltimore, I don't know. Obviously, Miami, if they were to win, I don't know. But most everybody does it anyway in the NFL now. I'm confident the Jags can do that, quite frankly, with Trevor Lawrence in this offense. But you don't want to be in that situation as a defense up 2 or 1 or tied late in the game with them on the field. Now, listen, if you're up 3, then you can hold them to a field goal force overtime. But you really want to have
the
that.
Ball, by the way. You heard that? In overtime?
Yeah,
it's
I know
rule.
that. It does happen. 4, 5, or 6 points, or even 7, it would be ideal if Justin Herbert is getting the football back late in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why you have to put yourself in that position where they can't go down and beat you. And they're going to have a hard time with that without Mike Williams. I mean, it's plain and simple. That's a guy who, in those moments you'd be looking for, the big play, go up and get it, who knows how he would have matched up against Tyson Campbell because he will not be in the game. So I think you do have that advantage going for you where if it is late, you've got Keenan Allen, you've got a Josh Palmer. And outside of that, Mike Williams, who's your biggest play option, is he's definitely not going to be able to get the football in that position.
I love when people talk to us with our headphones on while we're talking, like I can't hear you.
I didn't know
I don't know what he was saying. Anyway, we're live at the DUUUVAL House, ESPN690 Game Day Live, brought to you by Go Tuckin', also Polar Seltzer, and Celsius Essential Energy Drinks. Live Fit. Brent, Martineau, Kasey, Kuhrts, Brian Middleton back in the studios. We just had a nice battle of the sunsets right behind us. If you're looking on the video feeds, it looks like it's gone down. It's a beautiful night. It's a chilly night. It's a hand warmer kind of night. It's also a stocking cap kind of night and a layered up kind of night here in Jacksonville. But that's some good football weather. Prime time under the lights. We're a couple hours away here in Jacksonville. The Chargers, the Jaguars, the playoffs begin. And the Jaguars are just 3 wins away from going to the Super Bowl. How about that? They've put themselves in that dance with a chance. We'll take a break on ESPN 690 Game Day Live from the DUUUVAL House. We come back and we talk matchups. What matchups do you really like in this football game? Or not like so much from a Jags point of view? It's next on ESPN 690. Smoked for hours, served in minutes. Now that sounds like good barbecue, and it is at Willie Jewell's in St. Augustine at Mirabella Crossing. Fast casual dining served up old school barbecue style with a heaping side of Southern hospitality. Need catering? They do it. Third-party delivery? They have it. Need a job? They have openings. Visit williejewels.com. Kids eat free on Wednesdays. Best jumbo wings in town and TVs for football season. Visit Willie Jewell's at Mirabella Crossing in St. Augustine. Old school barbecues, smoked for hours, served in minutes at Willie Jewell's.
For many servicemen and women, the battle doesn't end when they come home. And I know, because I too struggle with the invisible wounds of service. Pups for Patriots and Sam literally changed my life. If you're a veteran or know a veteran struggling with post-traumatic stress or a traumatic brain injury, go to AmericanHumane.org to learn more about the Pups for Patriots Service Dog Program. Let's give our veterans a fighting chance.
A message from American Humane.
All offers with approved credit and not a conjunction. See dealer for complete details. Start something new sales event.
Attention Jacksonville truck buyers. If you haven't been driving a Ram and you're in need of a great pickup, we've got what you're looking for at Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside. Come to I-295 and Commonwealth Avenue for a test drive. I guarantee you'll love driving a new Ram. It's bold on the outside, luxurious on the inside, and has all the hauling and towing power for your performance needs. Choose gas or diesel. Save thousands. Bring us your old pickup in trade and get more for it. We can even factory order your next new Ram just the way you want it, and you won't pay a premium price. This is a great time to buy. With eShop, you can buy from home and have your new truck delivered right to your house. Make buying fast and easy with Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside, I-295 and Commonwealth Avenue.
Westside.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell with the law firm Cordell & Cordell. When the prospect of divorce becomes a reality, you need a partner that you can count on. If you're a man in this situation, consider contacting Cordell & Cordell. We've helped men navigate complex legal matters for 30 years.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Jacksonville area attorneys. Offices in Jacksonville and by appointment only in Ponte Vedra Beach. Online at CordellCordell.com. Lisa Cargis, Florida resident partner. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois only.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever.
Ooh, Ma.
What is that, meditation?
I'm recommending the UMA cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
UMA?
Yep. Switching to UMA is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
UMA.
Now you're feeling it. Visit UMA.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. UMA. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Listen to ESPN 690 anytime, anywhere, on any device. Whether you're at home or on the go, get the latest on the Jags, FSU, the Jumbo Shrimp, and Action Sports Jacks on Odyssey.com. That's AUDACY.com or on ESPN690.com.
Now back to more of ESPN 690 Game Day Live from the DUUUVAL House. ESPN Game Day Live is brought to you by Polar Seltzer, Celsius, and Go Tekken. Back to Brent Martineau and Kasey Kuhrts.
Hey, welcome back to the ESPN 690 Game Day Live show here on from the DUUUVAL House, the front porch of it, as we have everybody signing our "It Was Always the Jaguars" Dewey Wingard sign. You know, I said last week when we had the Doug Peterson sign and everybody signed. I mean, so many signatures, really cool. Like, if I'm Doug, I have a lot of memory. I have a Lombardi trophy to put in my house. I'm not sure I'm putting a sign that we give him, like, in my house. Like, I could see him stuffing that in his garage, even though he appreciates. Like, he'll appreciate it. But as a keepsake, a 3-by-6 foot poster board of everybody signing it, I'm not sure he's displaying that in his beautiful home, I assume. Dewey Wingard now. We give that thing to Dewey Wingard? I think it's a different animal. Like, he might put that thing over the couch.
Maybe.
I would.
Would you?
Yeah, if I had a sign of myself, right, and we give it a little slogan or whatever.
I'm surprised you don't have a sign of yourself
I probably do somewhere, and people sign it. I'd probably frame that sucker and put it over the couch just so my kids and Steph would at least have to look at it.
I think Andrew Wingard will appreciate it when he sees all the fans that sign it. I also think Doug will too, Brent.
No, I think he'll appreciate it, but then he'll say, hey, you want this?
Doug has like 18 rooms in his house, I bet.
No,
I'm
that's
sure
fair.
there's a spot for it.
That's fair. I've actually thought about it a lot, and I'm like, we'll just get Doug to sign it as well, and we'll hang it up in the studio. We'll take it.
Okay.
But we will make the presentation. We'll do our job.
We'll do our job.
Brent Martineau, Kasey Kuhrts, Brian Middleton back in the Action Sports Jacks ESPN 690 studios, and we have droves of fans making their way inside the stadium as obviously the gates are open. They opened right when the show started at 6 o'clock, 8:15 kickoff. Chargers and Jaguars with the whole world watching. Once again, what will the Jaguars do? What a great vibe here in the River City around this football game. We had the high of last week. People had to get their voices back. They had to decompress, go back to work, get something done, then ramp right back into this thing for a Saturday night game. And here we are. I think we've successfully done it. This place will be rocking. The one difference, which would be nice in this game, is the first quarter was like a waste for the Jags last week.
Yeah, Tennessee had like a 17-play
Tennessee
drive.
had they had 5 plays the Jags did offensively, and the first quarter was over. And so it would be nice if the Jags get something going early, get this crowd into it, and really start making the Chargers work for every snap they had. Now, by the end of the game, Tennessee had a big false start, actually, because of the crowd noise, and got the help for Colin Cowherd, who doesn't believe there's a home field advantage. There absolutely was, and there will be tonight. But you got to get them juiced up sometime in that first quarter and make some plays.
Yeah, I would agree, but I think it's a better matchup for I would be very surprised if the Chargers do what Tennessee did. Right, there's a lot of running the football involved to keep the ball for 17 plays. Chargers ain't doing that. The Chargers ain't doing that. If they're going to score, they're going to score relatively quickly. The Jags are going to get their chances, but I agree with you that you need to have more than 5 plays in the first quarter. You got to get the crowd into it early, and that could be as simple as a Jamal Agnew kick return. I'm not saying all the way to the house. It'd be great if it went all the way to the house, but again, he was so good last week flipping the field. You get another 50, get the ball at the 50, even the 40. That gets the crowd into it right away.
All right, I want to talk matchups. I've got a question for you, Brian Middleton and Kasey Kuhrts, and I'll share my thoughts on my own question. How about that?
What you do?
I think NFL is a game of matchups. Sports are games of matchups. Like, you can sit there and say, hey, I'm better than this team or you're better than me, but if I do this well enough and you can't stop it, well, guess what? On that day, I can scheme you up and be better. And I saw some stuff this week that says the Jags are a good matchup with the Chargers because the Chargers don't stop the run very well. Their interior defense is not big and stout like Tennessee is, and so that's a good matchup for the Jags. How about if I say individual matchups? I'm thinking this. Tyson Campbell, Keenan Allen if he stays on the outside. Let's assume that. I know he might come into the slot, and Tyson won't travel if he does come into the slot. Austin Eckler and Foye Oluokun, who I think could be huge with Eckler out in open space in this game and tackling. There'll be others, but I think Oluokun could be big in that spot. Derwin James against maybe Evan Ingram.
Okay.
So let's go those 3 matchups because those are individual where we could see guys factor in more often than not. It's not an every play deal in the NFL, but you get where I'm going here. So let's start with Tyson Campbell, Keenan Allen. Do you like the matchup for the Jags, or is that a scary one if he stays on the outside?
I think that's a great matchup for the Jags if they can get it. I think Tyson Campbell has proven as the season's gone on. We knew going into the season he was a really good player. Early in the season, we saw things that he could work on, and now by the end of the season, I think he's been elite. He's getting his head around. He's been great. Now, granted, they haven't played a lot of offenses that could really take advantage of anything, although I don't remember Brandon Cooks doing anything in that football game. So I think if they have Keenan Allen on the outside, I have full confidence in Tyson Campbell to lock him down, even though I think Keenan Allen's a great player.
Brian, what do you think about that matchup?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of what Kasey said, man. The way that Tyson Campbell continues to grow into the player that we all thought that he could be going into this season has been impressive to watch. I mean, even if you look at some of the nerd statistics that I like to get into, because I'm a nerd when it comes to football stats, the Pro Football Focus has him graded out 4th highest in the league behind Sauce Gardner, Patrick Surtain, and I think Darius Slay. And so for that to be the case, man, and a guy just so early on in his development, what can he become? But as for tonight's matchup, I think he can stick with Keenan Allen no matter if he's on the inside, in the slot, running a crossing pattern, post and go, fly, whatever the route is. I think Tyson's going to be on him like stink on pig.
I like it. Here's the deal. I love Tyson Campbell in a matchup. He did have trouble with guys like Devontae Adams early in the year, even had trouble in the opening game, but he grows like as the season goes along. He gets better and better. But I do respect Keenan Allen's game a lot. I think he's a really good player. He's a pro. He reminds me of Christian Kirk for them. Like, that's kind of how I would label him. And he can move on the inside, and they probably will try to create matchups. You've said that all week, Kasey, and I think that'd be the case. But I think he's going to get some of his even against Tyson. I don't think Tyson's shutting anybody down to that degree with that caliber right now. I just don't see it, but he might. The other thing to keep an eye on with Tyson Campbell here is he's been big play turnover guy lately. Interception, scoop and score. Like, he's getting his hands on some footballs now, and that's not a position you always do that, especially when you're a top corner. Sometimes they don't throw you away. You don't get opportunities. You don't usually come up with fumbles, but he's come up with a couple of those this season. So all of a sudden, like, Rayshon Jenkins and Tyson Campbell starting to turn people over. So big play capability with Tyson.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, he's getting turnovers, or he's picking up turnovers and scoring touchdowns, and I think we've talked about that. Will they actually throw the football towards him? Justin Herbert's going to throw it towards anybody that wants it because they're going to throw the football so many times. So Tyson Campbell's going to have an opportunity in this game to turn somebody over because they're going to throw at everybody.
All right, I like this matchup, and obviously there's a lot of people in their way. Austin Eckler, Foye Oluokun. But we know Austin Eckler is going out in the flat and catching the football, right? He's going to have 6, 7, 8 catches in this game at a minimum. Foye Oluokun is the leading tackler in the NFL 2 years in a row. He's a tackling machine. He made the tackle to end the game for the Titans the other night on Saturday, short of the sticks. What do you feel about that matchup? And again, this isn't like lined up all the time, but what I think is critical here is you could get a spot where it's 3rd and 7. Austin Ekeler gets the ball, and he's in space, and Aluakin's going to have to make a play, or Eckler's going to shake him for a first down. It could be a significant play in the football game. How do you like Aluakin's chances against Austin Ekeler?
I like him, but I like Tyson Campbell better, right? If I had to rank the matchups that you're telling me right now, I'd put that one up there because I think Austin Ekeler's going to get his. I just think he's that good. And I'm confident that if Aluakin can get his hands on him, he's going down. But you got to get your hands on Austin Ekeler. That's been the problem. So I think that one, to be honest, it's not. I know you're not looking for this answer. I think it's split right down the middle. If he gets it, if it happens 7 times, I think someone's getting it 3, somebody's getting it 4. That's just how it's going to work. I have confidence in him, but I think Austin Ekeler's really,
well, listen, when we talk about big matchups and good matchups, that's how it goes sometimes. I mean, you're just not talking about it's going to be 7-0 in favor of one guy. I mean, that's not how it works. What I think, Brian, is critical here is if it is a split down the middle between these guys, who's making the more significant play at the appropriate time?
Yeah, and listen, guys, I'm a Jags fan, but I might give the slight nod to Austin Ekeler, man. He gets it done. 107 catches, I believe, so far this season. That's a lot for a wide receiver.
From a running back.
That's a lot for anybody. So he is elite when it comes to pass catching and then moving the ball forward after he's caught the ball. So if I'm talking about this matchup right here, yes, I know Fourier. I know he's a tackling machine, and I love the fact that he's on the Jags. But the way that Austin Ekeler can move in space, the way that he can catch the ball, I think he is going to get the one-up more times than not, but it won't be a wide gap, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get you. I think I think they're going to each get theirs, and listen, Chargers fans like that matchup because they love Austin Ekeler. I think Austin Ekeler has so much respect around the National Football League, and he should. And he's that kind of guy.
And a runner.
Yeah, he is. And you know what I think people sleep on with Ekeler? Around the goal line, he's a powerful running back. Like he can get it done. Like he's a little guy, but a powerful back around the goal line to push the pile and get in the end zone. So Eckler's a big part of this game. We all know that. We think that with Travis Etienne. We think with Ekeler. We think they're both going to get theirs a little bit. But they can't. Here's the thing. Guys can get theirs. They just can't be game breakers, game wreckers. This is exactly what we talked about with Derrick Henry last week. Derrick had 100 yards, but he didn't wreck the game for the Jags.
Yeah, and Austin Ekeler, if you throw out the game that, they shouldn't have played at all, but they played a little bit, you go back to the previous 4 before that, 6 rushing touchdowns. So to your point, when they get in that goal line situation, even though they don't like to run the ball a lot, they're going to run it on the 3, 4, 2-yard line because Austin Ekeler is strong enough, even though not the biggest guy, strong enough to get in and get him 6 points.
All right, my last matchup for you guys right here. And Evan Ingram had 1 catch for like 9 yards the last time these two teams met. Evan Ingram is a totally different player right now than he was in the first 3 weeks. This offense is totally different. The comfort level with it. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is more comfortable with it. Derwin James has only played a couple of games in the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. He missed like 3-game stretch. He was named second-team All-Pro earlier this week. Where do you see the matchup going with a potential Derwin James and Evan Ingram matchup?
I think it's going to be another good one, man. I mean, Evan Ingram has been so good for the Jags. They have to get him going, especially in a game like this. Last week, okay, but this week's different because the Chargers are going to score some points. I hate to do it, but I got to favor Derwin James, man. Derwin James has proven it. Again, another All-Pro voted on, so he's just been so good. But I think the chess match will be, can they get Evan Ingram the ball in front of him before the safeties collapse on the play? So I think that'll be on Doug Peterson to find new ways to get him the ball, line up in the slot, do whatever it takes. But I think just straight up the matchup, Derwin James is a problem for, like, the whole league. The whole league.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really talented player, no doubt about it. Brian, what do you think here? How do you see this one going? Remember now, Ingram can do a lot of things. He comes in motion a lot. He can set up his own mismatches, too. He can get away from James maybe with some pre-snap stuff. He can bubble screen you. He can go down the seam. He can get the short route, the out route thing. I mean, Derwin James, he's going to have his hands full, Brian.
No, absolutely, and that's exactly where I'm going to. Listen, when you're talking about Evan Ingram, you said that he was a much different player from the first time that these two teams matched up, and that is absolutely true. This guy is playing with extreme confidence. You can see the way that he's been playing on the field, some of the big games that he's had. A guy that can run 4.42 is going to cause pressure for anybody that's on him, even Derwin James. And I think that for all the reasons that you just said, as far as he could go into motion or different lineups or just his athleticism alone is going to cause Derwin James a bit of problems. It doesn't mean that Derwin James can't figure it out because, All-Pro, all that good stuff. But in this matchup right here, I'm excited. This would be the matchup that I would say would be more right down the middle, that Evan Ingram's going to get some on a couple of plays. Derwin James is going to be pretty good on him as far as coverage on certain plays that he's on him, directly one-on-one. So this is the one matchup that I would go right down the middle between Evan Ingram and Derwin James.
Yeah, it's a good call. This is going to be a fun matchup to watch. Those are some of the matchups. There's many more in this football game, and we'll see what both coaches decide to do. One other element of the Ingram one, or Derwin James one, whatever Derwin James is doing, if he does have to eye Ingram a little bit more, he could be used in a decoy fashion, and that does open up down the field now. If Trevor wants to take some shots with guys like Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, could open up the middle of the field because you've got attention from Derwin on Ingram. Again, I don't think they're going to follow him around, isolate him, but Ingram's been that good the last month of the year. He's been one of the best pass catchers in the NFL, so they have to keep an eye on him. Doesn't have game-breaking speed, but he is a tough matchup for a lot of guys, and Derwin is a guy that can match up with him, so you'd think their defense might try to favor it and at least take him away a little bit. The beauty of the Jags offense, you take one guy away, there's a good chance the other guys are going to beat you in some way, shape, or form if Trevor has time and can get it to them. Hey, let's take a break. We are rocking and rolling from the DUUUVAL house, ESPN 690 Game Day Live on the front porch. Hey, you know what? The folks don't look that cold. Like, they're handling this really well. And when they're dressed up, they're layered up, they've got the hats on, they got the gloves ready, they got the hand warmers probably, but they're ready to roll, man. And they are excited about this football game. There's a lot of confidence from the fan base. There's a lot of confidence from the team that they can win this game. I think it's going to be spectacular. Let's talk more about it when we come back. ESPN 690 Game Day Live from the DUUUVAL house. Brent, Martineau, Kasey, Kuhrts, Brian Middleton on ESPN 690.
In case you were wondering, Rashean Mathis, big Trevor Lawrence guy.
He rolled out to his left and made a play to Agnew, I believe.
Yes, that's the play.
On the sideline, I was like that's Mahomes, that's Lamar, that's Josh Allen. It's not too many quarterbacks that's going to make that throw. Even scramble like that. Find his way out of the pocket with poise and make that type of throw. That's big-time football.
Hear more from Rashean every Monday at 4 p.m., only on ESPN 690.
Hey folks, now that the kids and grandkids have gone home and the decorations are coming down, I can see that it's time to get my carpets and sofas cleaned. That's where Zero Res comes in. Zero Res can clean the carpets, the sofa, the chairs, the area rugs, and even the tile and grout. Google Zero Res and see what your neighbors are saying with over 5,000 five-star customer reviews. Right now, get 20% off carpet cleaning and 20% off upholstery cleaning. Zero Res spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
As parents, we all want to ensure that our children are safe, secure, and healthy starting day one. Please make sure your newborn is sleeping safely. Visit wolfsandchildrens.com/safe-sleep for infant safety tips. That's wolfsandchildrens.com/safe-sleep.
All offers with approved credit and not a conjunction. See dealer for complete details. Start something new sales event.
Drive your new year forward with a great deal on a great vehicle from the dealer that values its customers. Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside. Drive a new Gladiator and get up to $5,000 in bonus cash. You want a truck? You want a Jeep? You'll have the best of both worlds in a Gladiator, Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, Compass, Laredo, Latitude, and Limited. Save! Our lenders are ready to make you a new car loan today.
Perfect credit or not.
See our inventory at jackcjdrwestside.com. Buy a new Jeep and you'll be enrolled in the Jeep Wave worry-free maintenance program. If for any reason we don't have exactly what you're looking for, we will factory order it with everything you need and you won't pay a premium price. Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside, I-295 and Commonwealth Avenue, Westside.
Willie Nelson and family are headed to St. Augustine Amphitheater for 2 shows the last weekend in February, and ESPN 690 has tickets to the show. Log on to ESPN690.com and register to win tickets to see Willie Nelson and family at the Amp in St. Augustine.
Not on my watch, our military service members say, as they volunteer to serve. Not on my watch, they say, as they leave their families behind to keep the rest of ours safe. As they move out, stand firm, and take fire. So not on our watch, we say, to the severely ill or injured veterans who can't get the care they deserve, the therapists they need to walk again, the treatment they need to talk again, the lifetime of day-to-day help they need to live full and independent lives. When there's no more government funding, or a nursing home seems like the only option, or everyone says there's no hope for recovery, we won't leave one warrior behind. Not on our watch. Find out how you can do your part at findwwp.org.
My name is Dale Pazinski, and this is how I live United. I volunteer with United Way, helping the homeless in my community by teaching computer skills and helping them build a basic resume to save on their very own USB drive. It's huge when somebody says, "Hey man, that job that you helped me apply for, I got it." My name is Dale Pazinski. I help people achieve financial independence. So I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jacks. Did you know you can watch our radio show? Yeah, video of a radio show. Just search ESPN 690 Jacks on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Or follow me on Twitter at BrentASJacks. Watch the show live weekdays from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. or listen on ESPN 690.
Now back to more of ESPN 690 Game Day Live from the DUUUVAL House. ESPN Game Day Live is brought to you by Polar Seltzer, Celsius, and Go Tekken. Back to Brent Martineau and Kasey Kuhrts.
All right, we are approaching the 7 o'clock hour. We are inside, an hour and a half to go before the first Duval by Big John Henderson. We'll have our conversation with Big John Henderson coming up in a little bit, along with Brad Meester, along with Arden Key as well, here on ESPN 690 Game Day Live from the Duval House. The nose is getting a little cold, maybe a little runny tonight if you're hanging out here at TIAA Bank Field. But this is an awesome scene. I think everybody's toughing it out and ready to roll, and it's going to be 70,000 of your closest friends you can snuggle with here inside the bank tonight in prime time under the lights. I don't want to snuggle with you, Kasey Kuhrts. Brent Martineau, Kasey Kuhrts. Brian Middleton back in the studios. He will be joined by Aaron Schachter and Justin Kuhrts later tonight. We will have 11:30 till about 2 a.m., just like we did last week, the Dual and Duval post-game show on ESPN 690. It will also play on 104.5 WOKV. That's on the FM side of things, and we want you to be a part of it. 904-362-9901. That's the number. Write it down and call us a little bit later or jump in on YouTube and Twitter. 904-362-9901. Be a part of the show later tonight, hopefully coming off a Jacksonville Jaguars win in this football game. Update on the San Francisco 49ers. Seattle was driving. They force a fumble on Geno Smith. This has been a close game. Seattle was in the lead 17-16. Then San Francisco comes back 23-17. And at last check, still 23-17 with San Francisco with the ball late in the third, maybe now going into the early fourth quarter. But that's a good football game. A lot of people thought San Fran might run away with it, and Seattle's doing a good job.
Yeah, it was not pretty early for Brock Purdy in the game. It is still 23-17, by the way, as they start the fourth quarter. And San Francisco still driving, so they do have a chance to put it away, cover the spread, and everything's right with the world in San Francisco. But Seattle gave them a scare early, and this thing's not over by any stretch. But if San Francisco gets in here, you have to feel with that defense, 2 scores is a lot of scores.
I remember being around, like, watching the playoffs. In my mind, it sticks out that there's always, like, one blowout game. And maybe there's 2 blowout games, but usually 1. And I looked back at last year's playoffs, and there was actually a bunch. Like, San Francisco beat Arizona, won easily. You know, Philadelphia lost to the Bucs easily. The Bills won over the Patriots easily. Like, there were a lot of blowouts in the playoffs last year. In this round of the playoffs. And quite frankly, people can dial some up. This one, San Francisco, Seattle, the way that the Dolphins quarterback situation is against the Bills, and then you've got the Bengals and the Ravens situation with the quarterback situation there that people could see in blowout fashion. I've heard a lot of people around the country think this is going to be one of the games of the weekend. I thought maybe I'd be alone in that take, and I'm not. I think a lot of people are saying a similar thing. And also the Bucs and Cowboys game Monday night, you figure it's going to be a pretty close game, I would think. Tampa's going to bring it. Dallas is better, in my opinion, but they're also kind of like the Chargers. You know, they're very disappointing teams, and it's like they find ways to lose. Like, you don't trust them. I was talking to somebody today. I was like, there are 2 teams you don't trust, and the Jaguars are not on the list. It's the Chargers and the Cowboys in the playoffs.
Yeah, it is. And just on the Cowboys for a second, I mean, they could win easily. They probably should win easily.
Yeah.
They're better if they would just run the football. If you put it in Dak Prescott's hand, give me the Bucs all day. But, yeah, the Chargers have built up the cachet that everyone expects them to find a way to lose, not win. And it'll be up to them to try to change that narrative, or it'll be a long off season for them with how do you really get better with this roster, because they're already pretty good, maybe a piece or two on defense. So it goes back also to what we said this week, that all the pressure is on the Chargers for my money. By the way, touchdown for the 49ers.
Touchdown for the 49ers. They take a 2-score lead now. Marcel Robinson just texted me, said a Leon Jacobs sighting here in Jacksonville. How about that? That's an unusual throwback
there you go.
That we have as they're getting warmed up on the field. Marcel, the Action Sports Jacks team out there getting some of the warm-ups. And you are right, San Francisco just scored to
Elijah Mitchell.
Basically double
fantasy.
up the Seattle Seahawks. Last week I had mentioned that this game for the Jags, the Titans game, meaning the final regular season game, which felt like a postseason game, was so important to the fan base. They couldn't lose to the Titans again. It was really important for the Jags because they had the opportunity, of course, to win the division and be the kings of the South, which they now are. And now you speed this thing up and look down the road, and you're like, all right, Titans are going to have to come build stuff and take it away from Jacksonville. Indianapolis is going to have to draft well and find a quarterback, take it away from Jacksonville. Houston's going to have to really build it over the next couple of years to try to come catch Jacksonville. Jacksonville's in the lead now in the AFC South. So there were ramifications of that football game, is my point. When you won that game, you became the king of the South and the team to beat going forward for maybe the foreseeable future, but definitely going into this offseason in 2023. For the fans, it finally was like, yes, beat the Titans. And it was not easy, and you could argue they should have even lost the game, and Tennessee did everything that they wanted to do in that game, except the big play obviously changed things. This week, I don't have a lot of those feelings. I don't know what it means if the Jags win or lose. I think they're playing a bit with house money. Nobody expected them to be here. The Chargers have a ton of pressure on them because Herbert's been doing this for 3 years, but if you've been prolific and doing this for 3 years and have no postseason win to show for it, well, I start putting you in the Lamar Jackson category a little bit like that. You can be great in the regular season, but people make their money and careers and legacy in the postseason. And then Brandon Staley could have a lot on his plate, all those things too from a win-loss standpoint. They're ahead of the Jags where they should be winning games this time of year. The Jags not necessarily should be winning games this year. But I said to Ty today, here's the deal. When you're at home and you're a young star quarterback, you start building your resume. And so I think there's a little pressure on Trevor today to play well and win, different than if he was on the road at 23 years old in his career and just arrived to the postseason a little too early. Burrow was a little bit like this last year, and he took advantage of it right in the postseason, took advantage of his opportunity.
Yeah.
I think there's a little on the line for Trevor, not necessarily the Jags or the fans, but a little on the line today for Trevor.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there, and I think there's a point to be made, but also coming off of last season, I think if the biggest question this offseason about Trevor Lawrence was can he win in the postseason, I think we would take that 100% of the time.
That's good perspective.
I mean, it is. So, yeah, but you can, to your point, we think about Burrow differently, or at least I do, than a lot of quarterbacks in the league because of what he did last postseason. Trevor could put his name on that list, and if they win this game, you go into Kansas City and you're like, you know what? Maybe, because they got Trevor Lawrence, and I think that's the big part of it. But on the Chargers side of it, they should be winning these games. They've spent the money, and the team has been pretty much the same since they got Justin Herbert. They've put pieces around him. They drafted Josh Palmer, but Keenan Allen's been there. Mike Williams has been there. They re-signed him. Austin Eckler's been there. They add some pieces on defense through the draft with Asante Samuel, and they bring in Khalil Mack and all that. But the pressure's on them. This is a team people picked to win the Super Bowl, and they might not get out of the wild card round again. I mean, no matter what, it's an A+ season for the Jags, and the Chargers have everything to lose in this one. It'll be a long flight back to L.A. if they lose this football game.
Absolutely. Brian Middleton, I want to ask you the same question. Do you hear what I'm saying? And do you feel like there could be a little extra stress, some pressure on Trevor, considering the last 3 weeks, too, on offense have been a bit clunky on that side of the ball?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agreed with your sentiment beforehand that maybe they were playing with house money, but when you start thinking about the great QBs, especially in the AFC, I saw a statistic where Patrick Mahomes is the oldest quarterback in the AFC at 27, the AFC playoffs at 27. So all of these guys, as you start looking at, whether it be Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, these guys are have already started building their resume to be considered the top echelon. And Trevor has been touted as that ever since he's been in high school, probably even middle school, maybe even elementary school, definitely college, and even here, even though there was a bit of a gap in his rookie year because of all the stuff going on there. So I do think that just a smidgen, just a smidgen, if you're looking on the stream, I got my two fingers really close together of okay, now's the time. One, because I'm supposed to be just that good, even though I am growing into who I'm supposed to be as a quarterback, and a great one at that. And also, listen, we hear it all the time from athletes in all sports. You don't know how many times you're going to get into the playoffs. You don't know how many times your team is going to be this good to be a division winner. So you better take advantage of it. So I'm hoping some of those vets are in there as well saying, hey, guys, I know we think we're playing with house money, but we got to be on our game. Because who says that we're going to be back next year? We think we are, the way that we've looked this year, and if we keep most of the players. But to your question, Brent, yeah, I think that there's just a smidgen. I do see that. And so, Trevor, I think he'll rise to the occasion.
That's a good point, because I'm sure they said that in 2017.
Well, they did. And, yeah, I think it was the start of something you feel. Now, we really feel like this could be the start of something, but there are no guarantees.
Sure.
And that's the thing. I think Doug is really preaching, hey, you don't get to the dance all the time now. You take advantage. Let's go. We're playing our best football. We're not just satisfied to be here. And you can say that, but I think Doug's really preaching that. And I could tell from the mentality of the football team, they were kind of feeling that too. I'm a big equity guy. Like, if you have a chance to buy a house or just pay your rent, buy a house.
Amen.
Equity's big. And so when it comes to football and Trevor Lawrence, what Trevor didn't have in his first year and early in the season was built enough equity to have poor performances. So they were starting to stack, and you were like, what's going on? What's going on? Guy like Burrow now coming off a Super Bowl, he can throw 4 interceptions in game 1 and be like, don't worry, he'll be fine, right? And so you don't feel the heat. You don't feel that. Well, what Trevor's done in the second half of the season is he's opened everybody's eyes. He's played good football. So when he makes a couple mistakes last week against Tennessee and they escape with the win, you're like, that's all right. That's cool. Trevor's still awesome, and Trevor's going to be the guy for years to come. What I think happens on a night like tonight is you win the football game and you start to build equity. If you lose to Kansas City, okay. If you lose next year in the playoffs, well, at least you were 1-1. You're not winless. You already got that win because it doesn't – remember, Kirk Cousins, it started to build on him. Can he get it done? Can he get it done? Prime time, playoffs, all those things.
It'll really start building for him.
If you can avoid it, that would be good.
Yeah.
This place is really ramping up. Everybody heading into the stadium. ESPN690 Game Day live from the DUUUVAL house. We're a little more than an hour away from kickoff. Brad Meester conversation, Big John Henderson conversation, and also Arden Key. You don't want to miss it. That conversation coming up on ESPN690 when we come back.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him opening his own clothing store at the age of 18? 1 in 138,000. Excited to be a part of pop culture, he packed for the big city. The odds of finding someone to invest in his vision? 1 in 4.5 million. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Imagine a world where bullying isn't considered a normal part of childhood.
A world where I'm not afraid to go to school.
To speak out.
To be myself.
A world where I'm not afraid to be caught alone.
Come on, punk.
We have the power to stop the bullying. Speak out.
Speak up.
Educate.
Find out what to look for and how you can make a difference at bullying.org.
Bullying is not kids being kids.
It's not about good homes or bad homes.
It's not a normal part of growing up. I shouldn't be afraid to get on the school bus.
To turn on my computer.
Message. Or walk to my locker. Did you know that a bully will stop his or her behavior in 10 seconds when their peers speak up?
Use your voice.
Hey, leave him alone. We have the power to stop bullying.
Find out more at bullying.org.
Bullying.org.
Where you're not alone.
Where you're not alone. Where you're not alone.
Sure, humans can be a little weird at times, but take it from me, I'm a dog. And a person is about the best thing that can happen to a shelter pet. So if you want to learn how you can be that person, get down to your local pet shelter or visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
If a fire breaks out in your home while you're asleep, how will you know? Smoke and heat build quickly, making every second count. A working smoke alarm can alert you to the danger and make the difference between life and death. Install and maintain a smoke alarm on every level of your home. Replace the battery every year. This message is brought to you by the United States Fire Administration, your local fire department, and this radio station.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN690, a Cox Media Group station.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Steve Lennox. NFL playoffs underway with 2 games on the schedule today and tonight. Right now, fourth quarter from Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. 49ers, 31-17 lead on the Seahawks. Brock Purdy, touchdown run in the third quarter. Purdy, a touchdown pass, his second of the game in the fourth quarter to extend the lead further. Seahawks in the third quarter had the ball at the 49er 19-yard line, lost the ball on a Geno Smith fumble. It's the only turnover of the game for either team. Coming up in a little over an hour, Chargers and Jaguars kickoff in Jacksonville. Herm Edwards on the QB matchup between Herbert and Lawrence.
Interesting to see Lawrence, his improvement, right? I think Coach Peterson's done a great job with him, and you could just see him developing the confidence in the guy. They're going to be a hard out. This is another team that's on a run right now, and they beat the Chargers earlier. Right, wrong, with different Chargers are missing some guys. The Chargers seem like they're always missing some guys. It's always hurt, but I think Jacksonville is in good hands with Lawrence. There's no doubt about that.
ESPN NFL analyst Herm Edwards earlier today with Marty and McGee on ESPN Radio. Tonight's game will mark the third time since 1950 that under 25-year-old quarterbacks will both make their first career playoff starts against each other. NBA today, Heat with a 111-95 victory at home against the Milwaukee Bucks. Gave Vincent 5 threes, scored 27 in the win. Celtics, winners of 5 in a row, about to tip on the road in Charlotte against the Hornets. Celtics and NBA best 31-12 on the season. College basketball on ESPN TV at the half. Oregon up 43-37 on number 9 Arizona.
Coming up Monday, I'll tell you why a Cowboys loss on Monday night will lead to major changes. Keyshawn, J. Will and Max, Monday on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
It's game day. Welcome to ESPN 690 Game Day Live. Live from the DUUUVAL House. Next to TIAA Bank Field. ESPN Game Day Live is brought to you by Polar Seltzer, Celsius, and Gotaken. Here's Brent Martineau and Kasey Kuhrts.
And we're a little more than an hour away now from kickoff between the Jaguars and Chargers. Playoff game number 5 here at home in the history of this football team. First time in 5 years, of course, the Jags make the playoffs. Cinderella story up against a Chargers team where there's a lot of pressure on them to get the job done. One thing about the Jacksonville Jaguars, because they're a Cinderella story, they don't have a ton of playoff experience. They do have 13 guys that have been in the postseason before, a couple of guys, including the coaching staff, that have won Super Bowls. Darius Williams, Mike Caldwell's an assistant. Doug Peterson, of course, is the head man. Arden Key came really close last year to win the Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers. They were like one play short last season. And he had a terrific season, bet on himself this year, and, well, he's having a terrific campaign again, Kasey.
He's incredible, and I don't know if they beat Tennessee without him. I mean, it's just as simple as that. I know he didn't make the splash play. He was all-pro on the celebrating team, but still, he was incredible in that game. PFF had him highly rated. Pressure after pressure on not a lot of snaps. I'm sure he'll get another good amount of snaps in this game. But, yeah, last week it was a huge game for him on a huge season. Another guy that bet on himself that probably made the right call.
ESPN 690 Game Day live from the DUUUVAL House, sponsored by Go Tuckin, Polar Seltzer, and, of course, Celsius Essential Energy Drink. Live Fit. Brent, Martineau, Kasey, Kuhrts, and we caught up with Arden Key this week, had a chance to sit down with him, and I got a chance to sit down with a lot of different players on shows and stuff. This was a really fun interview with Arden Key. Everything you see on the football field, you kind of get in 10 minutes when we chatted with him this week at Jags headquarters. I told some folks that I was doing an interview with Arden Key, and they said, is that the boombox guy? That's the boombox guy. That's who you are, I guess, here on the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're the boombox guy.
Oh, yeah, I take it. I like to get the energy going, and I'm the boombox guy.
And you got Boosie playing, right? I mean, what's the story behind it?
Oh, man, I went to LSU, but I've been a Boosie fan forever. Went to LSU, and it all started there with just being a fan of Lil Boosie and learning a lot of his music. And then it just carried over, and then that's just a song that I play personally on my phone. And then lately, over the last couple of years, I've been playing songs on the boombox, and now I made some of it.
So this is something that you carried over, like you've kind of been doing that, but it's new to Jacksonville because it's your first year in Jacksonville. Like, do you have to have some street cred in the locker room to be able to bring the boombox out, or you're a veteran, you can do that, or you just bring it out?
Nah, I think you got to have a little cred. I think you got to be a type of leader that people listen to you. Of course you got to do some good things on the football field too, as well. So yeah, I think I earned the respect to be able to come out with a boombox.
How much have you embraced being a leader? And this might go back to training camp. There was a poignant moment after that Pro Football Hall of Fame game where you kind of grabbed everybody and said, hey, this isn't how we do it. Tell us a little bit about that moment and how you became a leader of this football team.
I think it just grew on me, really. Just at the playoffs last year, I went to the playoffs, deep into the playoffs, so I kind of came from a winning team. So I know what it looks like. And particularly that day, it wasn't looking like a championship football team. And Jacksonville haven't really had that leader lately over the past few years, a decade rather. And I think they needed that leader, that Energizer Bunny, that guy to be able to bring everybody together and win football games.
This stuff doesn't happen overnight. I mean, you look at that moment there and look at this week now, you're going to the playoffs as the AFC South champs. Yeah. I mean, how much has this team matured and grown with the help of guys like you?
We've grown a lot. I think you got to go through adversity to get to where you really want to go, where we want to go to the Super Bowl, but we're here at the playoffs. We're making strides and changes just out this year alone. We're making a lot of changes. But we went through a 6-game losing stretch, I believe, and we was only losing by 3 points here, 6 points there. Kasey beat us by 10. I think the biggest was Detroit, of course, but before that, it was Kasey who beat us the biggest, and that was by 10. But we always believed and knew that we was there. You look at the film, and we only had that play back, and we had this play back. The game would have changed. And I think everybody, as far as leaders and players that been balling on the football field, has been talking, having a voice, telling guys, okay, this is what you need, this is what we got to do, this is what we got to do. And we all came together, we all gelled together, and I think we gelled at the right time, and now you see a 5-game winning streak now.
How much do you need to be hardened in this game? I mean, you talk about some of the guys in your room, and you're one of them. I mean, you didn't have the easiest of times when you first got into the NFL. I mean, you talk about guys like Evan Ingram on the other side, right? The Zay Joneses of the world. I mean, you go up and down the list of this roster, and it wasn't always easy. It had some adversity. How much does that pay off right now for guys like you that have gone through that?
I pay off a whole lot. We're guys that don't give up. We could have easily gave up. we kept going every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. And now you see us on the other end of the spectrum. And we got young guys. This is a young team. I'm still young, relatively. So I just talk to the team about my experiences in the NFL and what I've been through and what I've seen, and just pass down the information, and they take it on well.
You guys have a lot of guys that are businesslike, but then there's you. Not to say you're not businesslike, but you even said the Energizer Bunny. Yeah. You got Ray Sean, a lot of personality there. Dewey Wingard, a lot of personality. How important is it to have personality, carrying the boombox, getting the crowd excited out there on a Saturday night, like the things, the energy that you guys bring to go along with that business-like nature?
Definitely, you gotta have. We call those dogs. That's the term we call them. We call those dogs. The Dewey, the Ray Seans, the me. It's something in us that we just got, that we can bring the energy. We can change a culture. And you need more than just one guy to change a culture. And I think we all becoming dog-like mentality. Like Foyer, when he first got here, he wasn't talkative like that. Now he's more comfortable, and he always been a dog. Don't take it from him. But now he's being more vocal. You're starting to hear him a lot more. And I think a lot of that is just trickling down within the team. Even Evan, he wasn't talkative. But when he talked, everybody listened. So I think everything is just trickling down, and in order to be a great football team, you gotta have those dog-like mentality. You look at all the great football teams, they always had 1, 2, 3 guys that was dog-like mentality, that bring the energy, that wasn't more like the business type. Not saying they wasn't, but they was the dogs.
Yeah, they were the dogs, and you guys have a bunch of them right now playing well. You brought in a bunch of free agents. They brought in a bunch of free agents. You were one of them, and Evan's another. He bet on himself, and it's really turned out well. You bet on yourself. You winning the bet?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe as far as bringing in the culture, we made it to the playoffs. This is my second time in the playoffs, so it's back-to-back for me. And as far as the pass rush, when you look at it, I looked at a stat, I think week 1 through 10, we wasn't really there. And then after, I think, the bye week, it shot up, and I was on the field more, I believe. So just as far as pass rush and boosting up the pass rush, getting pressure on the quarterback, and when you look at it, we don't blitz too much now. It's a 4-man front. So yeah, I did. I believe I bet on myself, and it's good.
But your contract will go away. Do you want to be here? I mean, if you could be here, do you want to be
here? Definitely. Jacksonville. DUUUVAL. Yes.
You want me to start negotiating the deal a little bit with you?
You said what?
You want me to negotiate the deal?
Oh, yeah, let's get it.
3 years, 40-something million, something like that. How much guaranteed? It's not my money.
Hey, we can get it all guaranteed.
How well did you play Saturday night? Was that one of the best games of your NFL career?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the best games. We was there. I felt like I had to play up the part of that game, because I've been to the playoffs. I know what it's like. I had to be the leader in that aspect. That's why I was around the ball, running everywhere. And you see the team, everybody the energy, we just build off one another. It's really a team thing. Like, we don't really have the big name guys. We don't really have that on defense right now. Oh, you got Josh Allen. But other than that, we just 11 people who trying to make a name for themselves. And that's what you see on the football field. That's why you see a lot of everybody jumping over piles. Or you see 10 guys around the football, and that's the way you're supposed to play football. And I knew, and that was a win or lose football game. We win, we in the playoffs. If we lost, we was out the playoffs. And so I had to put it upon myself to make sure that I prepared, that my body is in the best shape to be able to go out and do what I did Saturday.
That play on Saturday with 2:51 to go will probably be one, if not the biggest defensive play so far in this franchise's history. And you knew it was going to happen, I think, before it happened. Were you celebrating on the play before it happened?
I definitely was. So I'm a pass rusher, so I was copping, and I'm looking at the quarterback, and I know quarterbacks got a time, and if it's not out their hand by a certain time, it's a sack. But when I saw him about to throw the ball, and I seen Jink, I said, oh, that's sack fumble. And that's why I jumped in the air. I can't really explain it. It's just I was just so locked in, really trying to get the sack.
Yeah.
But popping the container and realize, okay, I'm not going to be able to get there. And seeing Jink coming, I just saw the whole play unfolding while I was looking right at it. And I just jumped with celebration because I knew the ball was done. But I didn't know Josh was going to pick it up and score. And that was just a plus. But that whole play and that whole play sequence, that was a crazy play.
Hang that one up in the living room someday or
Oh,
something, right?
Definitely.
We're going to wrap up here. What does "it was always the Jags" mean?
It was always about us. When you hear Doug, even at the beginning of the season, throughout the season, it's always about us. We lost because of things that we did. Nothing that they did. We lost because of things that we did. You look on film, and that's what it was. And he said it every day. It was kind of annoying. It's always about us. It's 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 about us. But then it came down week 18, and it was about us. If we lost, it would have been about us. If we won, which we did, it's about us. So that's the phrase that we take it on.
Is there some pride with this group, maybe even individually, that you've turned this city, this building, into what you have last Saturday and coming up this Saturday?
Hell yeah. We talked about it earlier. I think everybody that you guys interviewed, or everybody that interviewed from OTAs, it was about the culture change. And you can't change a culture losing. We have a winning record. We're in the playoffs since 2017. And it's just different. Last Saturday, the most fans that ever came to a game in Jacksonville here. So we having a lot. We achieving a lot of milestones, but we haven't got that one that we all want and the whole city want, and it's that Super Bowl ring.
Good luck this Saturday night. The chase begins, and if you need me at the negotiation table, let me know.
I got you.
We'll see if Arden Key can bring it again here on a Saturday night in a playoff game. He's come up big all year. Got a feeling he might come up with a big moment here or there in this football game. And Kasey, he's another guy that Trent Baalke, Doug Peterson, this front office is going to have to keep an eye on. Do they bring him back? He's a young player playing some of the best football in his NFL life. He's just turned 26 years old. That one-year deal, of course, you got Evan Ingram's one-year deal. It's an interesting conversation to have in Jacksonville that they have to worry about keeping their own guys that they brought in or drafted this offseason. Hasn't happened a lot around here.
Has not happened. And a lot of guys that you think those two you mentioned probably want to stay because they're having really great years. And, I mean, the turnaround with the coaching staff, now Jacksonville is a place that you want to play. So, yeah, that'll be priority number one, to keep those guys, two guys that made the right decisions in their careers to bet on themselves, help the Jags get to the playoffs, hopefully help them win a playoff game. We'll see a little later. But also with Arden Key there, I mean, how do you not gain new fans if you're Arden Key after that? I mean, so much personality from this guy, so likable. And a point you made on Twitter, like when we were living with the COVID times, like you wouldn't get to know this guy's personality like that. You'd see him on the field, you'd be like, okay, he's a role player. But like for what you just got to talk to him and the stuff we've seen, it really lets you know the player and makes more fans. I love it.
We asked a question this week during our show on Morning Madness with our expanded coverage. Whose jersey would you like to buy other than Trevor Lawrence for this game tonight? Not a long-term deal. Who's your favorite Jaguar right now? Arden Key got a lot of the votes and the responses, so pretty cool what he's been able to accomplish in a short time, and we'll see how big he plays for that defense. They've got their hands full with the Chargers offense tonight. Brent, Martineau, Kasey, Kuhrts. We're live at the DUUUVAL House. We call it ESPN 690 Game Day Live. First ever playoff edition of ESPN 690 Game Day Live from the DUUUVAL House. Oh, just about an hour away from kickoff, and this place is bananas again, as electric as you would figure it would be, even in the chilly weather. When we come back, we catch up with Brad Meester, Mr. Jaguar. He takes us through the center position, how Luke Fortner has done, and what's it like being a Jags fan now that he's retired, living in Iowa. Although he'll be here tonight for the football game. ESPN 690 Game Day Live from the DUUUVAL House rolls on right after this.
Now, the First Alert forecast on ESPN 690. Mostly clear skies this evening and tonight, and our temperatures tumble down into the 30s. Fortunately, the wind will come down. You still need to bundle up, though, if you're out and about. Then we stay sunny on Sunday, but still chilly. Highs in the middle to upper 50s, near 60 degrees. Stay warm. From the Action News Jax First Alert Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Corey Sima.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds. Before you buy a diamond anywhere, shop Beard's Diamonds.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Why should you hire the largest injury firm in the world for your injury case? Let me count the ways. Your case will be handled by your lawyer, a paralegal, and a case manager who's always in the office for you when your lawyer's in court. There's also a 24-hour hotline if you ever have a question or a problem. We've collected over $15 billion and won a lot. We became the largest injury firm in the world for a reason. Lots of people hired us. Morgan & Morgan.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Have you made your 2023 memory screening appointment? Annual memory screening should be part of everyone's health and wellness routine, even if you're not currently experiencing memory problems. The Alzheimer's Foundation of America offers free memory screenings every weekday, with no minimum age or insurance prerequisites. Learn more about memory screenings and schedule your free appointment by contacting the Alzheimer's Foundation of America at 866-232-8484 or visit alzfdn.org.
Ready to hit the open road and see America? Island Oaks, located just west of Jacksonville, Florida, is the perfect place to set up camp. With lakeside lots, swimming, fishing, dining, ball courts, live music, events, and new activities daily, there's something for everyone here. Call or text 904-906-6779 or visit islandoaksrv.info for weekly specials. Come solo for lasting memories, or bring the family and friends for a fun-filled vacation. No RV? No problem. Island Oaks now offers lots, equipped with ready-to-stay RVs in a variety of sizes to fit your vacation needs. No matter what you choose, you're sure to have a great time at Island Oaks RV Resort. Book your stay today. Call or text 904-906-6779 or visit islandoaksrv.info for weekly specials.
Hey folks, now that the kids and grandkids have gone home and the decorations are coming down, I can see that it's time to get my carpets and sofas cleaned. That's where Zero Res comes in. Zero Res can clean the carpets, the sofa, the chairs, the area rugs, and even the tile and grout. Google Zero Res and see what your neighbors are saying with over 5,000 five-star customer reviews. Right now, get 20% off carpet cleaning and 20% off upholstery cleaning. Zero Res, spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Blackwater Soul Review returns to the St. Augustine Amphitheater in April, featuring J.J. Gray and Mofro, Brothers of a Feather with Chris and Rich Robinson of the Black Crowes, Lucas Nelson and the Promise of Real, Robert Cray Band, and Jackie Venson. Blackwater Soul Review, April 14th and 15th with J.J. Gray and Mofro, Brothers of a Feather with Chris and Rich Robinson of the Black Crowes, and more. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
Founded in Jacksonville, Florida in 2016, Marie Barney Boston Scholarship Foundation has awarded scholarships to high school seniors, vocational, and current college students. We believe that every student should have the chance to pursue higher education and become future leaders. Visit mariebbsf.org to see this year's recipients and to donate. Help develop future leaders now. Go to mariebbsf.org. mariebbsf.org. That's mariebbsf.org.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin, ultra soft on the party. Listen's supposed to roll it back, everybody. Roll it back. Charmin's irresistibly soft and hella nice. The crib is always stocked. It's our party vibe. She's crushing up things so our cheeks feel flat. So what? Everybody wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
You hear the phrase a lot this time of year, happy holidays. But holidays are not always happy, particularly for guys grappling with a divorce that they didn't choose. These men need more than the help of a good lawyer. They need the hope and encouragement of a good friend.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Jacksonville area attorneys. Offices in Jacksonville and by appointment only in Ponte Vedra Beach. Online at CordellCordell.com. Lisa Cargis, Florida resident partner. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois only.
Now back to more of ESPN 690 Game Day Live from the DUUUVAL House. ESPN Game Day Live is brought to you by Polar Seltzer, Celsius, and Go Tuckin. Back to Brent Martineau and Kasey Kuhrts.
Oh, yeah, we're getting ready for kickoff here soon enough on a super football weather day here in Jacksonville, Florida. You know, Mike Burrish, I saw him do this week. It's almost as chilly here as it will be in Buffalo tomorrow.
I saw
in
that.
Cincinnati tomorrow night. Actually, the warmest temperatures in San Francisco today,
right
but
now.
it was sloppy in terms of the conditions and weather going on there in San Fran as forecasted. And so we've got ourselves a heck of a football night. I was saying this earlier to somebody. Listen, we might all be a little chilly because we're not used to this. The players are going to love this weather. As long as there's not a ton of wind, and the wind has died down, is expected to die down throughout the rest of the evening. You know what I love this weather? Brad Meester. He's one of those big uglies, one of those offensive linemen. They like it when it's down and dirty and a little chilly and you can see your breath when you get to the line of scrimmage. Brent Martineau, Kasey Kuhrts, ESPN 690 Game Day live from the DUUUVAL house. You didn't cover Brad Meester, but you and Aaron on our show bring up this stat, this metric that shows how important he was to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's hard to grade the center position.
It is, and a position that doesn't have stats, but when you look at AV, approximate value, they try to put it like WAR in baseball. Think about it that way. Try to put a number on it. Brad Meester's in the top 5 in the history of the organization in front of Tony Baselli, which is a crazy thing.
Wild.
Only behind Fred, Jimmy, and Keenan, and then Brad Meester. So that's how valuable this guy was at center position and on the offensive line for a long time. And we had him on the show this week. Brent just said it. You're about to hear it. But a lot of good knowledge that, like, we were genuinely curious about. Brent, you asked him a good question, and then he explains, you're going to hear in just a second, what he's actually doing when the center's calling out plays, what the actual is happening up there. And it's a good learning experience you're about to hear.
Luke Fortner, we're going to ask him about, obviously, the center, the rookie center, is doing a nice job overall. It was a little bit of tough go in the early going, but now we don't even talk about him. He's an aerospace engineer guy, all right? So he's a smart guy. He can handle the intricacies of that center position. Aaron Schachter, Kasey, myself, this week had a chance to catch up with Brad Meester, who called in from Iowa before he made it here to Jacksonville tonight for the football game. Man, I wish Brad Meester and Jamie Meester were in town coming in early. They would join us for a pop right here at String Sports Brewery. Instead, what are you, hitting the slopes before you come into Jacksonville?
Oh, nice.
I guess you would consider it that, yeah. The kids always, the middle school here always does a trip every year for the middle school students, and I've got one that's going, and for the first time, and she's a free spirit, kind of a wanderer, so I thought I should probably be there just so she doesn't go down like a black diamond or something. But so yeah, I'm gonna hit the slopes a little bit. Now I say the slopes. This is Iowa. There's not a ton of slopes here, so our slopes are nothing crazy. So
it's a little hill. Hey,
hill. That's about all we're doing. Yeah.
You're surrounded by girls and ladies and females, I should say, 6 kids, all girls. And how different are your daughters? Like, are they a lot alike, or are they all very much their own?
They're all very much their own. It's so crazy. And I feel like we've raised them all the same. They all do the same activities, but they are all completely different. I mean, just it's insane. And I do all the way from, some are very vocal and love to talk and are very social. Some are very to themselves. Some love sports. Like the one I just talked about, skiing, she is very to herself. She does not like sports, but she loves like the fine arts and violin, the play, things like that. All completely different.
Meester,
really good. I mean, which is good though. They all got their own little personalities and characteristics, and so it makes them special.
It's just funny to me, Brent. You've got 2 kids. I've got 3 kids. Meester talking about 6 kids. It's just exhausting to just imagine.
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Well,
hey, busy.
That's why Jamie's the greatest. His wife, Jamie.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, you guys, for people that don't know, I mean, they know Brad Meester, but these guys, what I love about this run right now, and I saw you in Nashville, and that's really where this started, Brad, but the former Jags are really fired up about what's going on in Jacksonville between Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence. You watch it from afar. You always go to one road game. You went to the one in Nashville, and like I said, that's where this thing really started to take off. How fun is this for you guys watching in Iowa and actually coming in for this playoff game to see this team playing so well?
So that's a lot of fun. I mean, we're having a blast here. I mean, it's fun just talking to people about it because other people are now excited about it, and they keep talking to us about it, and Trevor and how well they're playing. It's just fun to watch. And I guess this is kind of where I'd hoped we would be this year. You know, you never know where we're going to end up. My hope was, you know, we'd be about 500 and we would be a playoff contender. And here we are. We are in the playoffs, and we are peaking at the exact right time. You know, I mean, we are hitting our stride at the perfect time, and can't wait to see what we can do. I really think we got a great shot at this one. I can't wait to pull this one out and see where this takes us.
You know, Brad, we talked to a lot of former Jaguars on this show, Clay Harbor, Maurice Jones-Drew, Rashean Mathis. Every time we talk to former Jaguars this season at least, or at least in the last couple of weeks, we always get on the topic of who does this Jaguars team remind you of? And wouldn't you know it, the guys who played on that 17 team or close to it, it reminds them of the 17 team. And the guys who played on the 07-08 run, it reminds them of that. Does this team remind you of any of the Jaguars teams in particular, or do you think they're unique to their own?
I don't know. It's a little bit of both. I think they're unique to their own, but I just feel like it's kind of like that 17, you know. I mean, when we got in and we had a home playoff game, for me anyway, I feel like the same thing is happening. Like, you know, we had that home playoff game. But I remember going to that home playoff game, and I have this feeling that we're going to get on this run just like we did then. You know, we went into Pittsburgh. Nobody thought we were going to win that game, and we destroyed them. And then we ended up going to New England and had that game. I just feel like it just feels the same. You know what I mean? Like crowd is going to be nuts. I heard it was crazy last week. It sounded like it was crazy on TV. And I'm sure it will be the same this week. I think we'll pull out that win, and wherever we go, I think we'll just keep hitting our stride. And I don't know. I just have that same feeling. We're gonna shock some people in this.
Yeah, Brad Meester with us here on ESPN 690. I look at, obviously, you're for center, and so you look at the offensive line. Do you watch them closely? And if you do, what do you think about the rookie Luke Fortner? I mean, he has really been a guy we haven't mentioned much at all. And I think Tyler Shatley is the same way. He didn't even start at left guard. Ben Barch was the guy, and then Shatley came in, and we don't even mention anybody's name like Shatley or even Fortner since the beginning of the year. So what's your take on those two guys in particular and the offensive line as a whole?
I think they've done a really good job. I mean, I really do. I think they've meshed well together, been really solid. And I think if people are not mentioning their name, if you're not mentioning their name, like an offensive lineman, it means they're doing a good job. I mean, they don't – people notice offensive linemen when things are going bad. You know what I mean? When they're getting beat or they're struggling. That's when people notice offensive linemen. That's just the way it is. If you're not noticing them and we're not mentioning them, that means they're solid up front. I mean, they're doing what they need to do and doing a great job. I mean, being able to establish the run, obviously, and then obviously the big thing is just keeping Lawrence upright and just giving him time because we know what he can do if you just give him a little bit of time. And I think this group has done a great job. And honestly, they'll continue to get better as time goes on, too.
You mentioned establishing the run, and I'm not sure how closely you watched last week's game, but you know, they really did struggle to establish that run last week. Are you giving credit to the Titans front for that, or do you think the Jaguars' offensive line has some work to do?
That's a good Tennessee team. I mean, that's a good Tennessee defense. Obviously, I think we have a little bit of work to do in the run, but it's there. I mean, it's not – I mean, we're close. I mean, but that's the way things go sometimes. I mean, I really feel like, even from my end, like coaching, like sometimes the run game struggles or the passing game struggles, but that's when you got to have the other aspect there to pick it up. I mean, you got to be able to have both of them, a run game and a pass game, and you just really never know what's going to happen on any given day. You know, I mean, it may be a matchup you say, man, we're going to be running the ball a day. It just doesn't work out that way sometimes. You know, I mean, maybe they got a great scheme or it's just not working, but be able to have both aspects, I think, is key. And obviously, along with that, I mean, obviously we struggled offensively a little bit last week. The defense did a tremendous job. And be able to have those other parts, you know, I mean, it just takes 2 out of the 3, offense, defense, special teams to win, to have a great day, and that's what we did. I mean, our defense stepped up for us. So we just – it's the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes one of those elements struggles, but that's when the rest of the team's got to pick it up.
Mr. Jaguar Brad Meester with us here on ESPN 690, joining us from Illinois today, or Iowa. Where are you, Illinois or Iowa right now?
I'm in Iowa right now. I'm in Iowa.
Okay.
Tomorrow I'll be on the slopes in Illinois, yeah.
Okay, and then Saturday you'll be here in Jacksonville for this game. You're the best center in franchise history. How hard is it to play that position, and for Luke Fortner especially being a rookie? Like, just how difficult is that position on the offensive line?
I think I'm probably a biased opinion on that, but I would say it's really difficult. There's just a lot that goes on that people don't see. You know what I mean? People like, you go up there, snap the ball, and you block like anybody else. But there's a lot that's happening. Obviously, you got to read defenses. I mean, you got to be on the same page as your quarterback and where your protection is going to pick up blitzes. You know, just as much as the quarterback's got to see the blitz and what's happening, the center does the same thing. I mean, and you're in the stance trying to do that. So you're getting up there, you're getting down in the stance, and you're trying to read the defense. Are the linebackers tipping it? Are the safeties rotating? What's going on? Because you're trying to slide it the right direction. You're trying to direct everybody. I mean, when you have the run game, you're the one that calls out, in most of the time, I'm assuming they still do it, you're the one that calls out, a lot of times for us, it was the Mike linebacker, and it really directs where everybody's going. He's the quarterback of the offensive line. So to be able to do all that as a rookie in this type of situation is tough, and I think he's done a tremendous job. I mean, he's really stepped up and been able to do it really well.
Can you just give us an insight, like how that works? Because I think we watch it and we see the center get over the ball, and then we do see some pointing going on, and then we eventually see the snap. But all that communication that takes place, are you saying something as the center, or is it physically the pointing that you're identifying and then and those other guys are reading that? How does that work, that actual communication?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, at least for us. I mean, so obviously we were pointing, so you had that visual in case you couldn't hear it. But we are yelling. In pass pro, we would yell which way we were sliding the protection, either right or left. You know what I mean? So that obviously the back knows where he's going, but also the quarterback then knows what side the line is sliding to pick it up. So if you, for instance, like you walk up there and you believe it's coming from the right, whatever word they use, a lot of times it's our words, like Ron or whatever it might be. It meant the line was sliding right. Like, we're going to pick up the down guys and any blitzers from that side. And it would start where the point was. Well, the defense is starting to switch that, as the snap is going on or the cadence. So they'll start rocking guys and rocking safeties over. And all of a sudden, it might be coming from the other direction. Well, you want the line to pick it up. You want the line to pick it up from the left side instead of having to put a back on a guy, if you can. So you may, midway, just completely switch the protection. A lot of teams will fire zone where they'll bring four to a side. So now you have to bring the full line. So you got to yell that out. And so the quarterback has to know that. He has to hear that. If you're switching the protection, he now knows the blitz is picked up. You don't have to throw it hot. Yeah. So they have to be on the same page at all times. You know what I mean? And so it goes back and forth. I know for me, a lot of times I would call it a direction or whatever was going on, and then the quarterback has free will to change it whenever he wants to. If he wants to slide it a different direction or change it, he can. And he has obviously the ultimate authority. He's the one that's back there is going to have to take the hit if he's wrong. So obviously so we were just on the same page. He corrects us if he wants to, because obviously he's got a better visual of it. But to be able to step in and do that, do a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
sometimes it looks easy. Now, I'm not saying that it looks easy. Sometimes you look on TV, you're like, that's easy. I can see it coming. And you get down in the stance. It's quick. You get down in the stance, and you have to look through the trees, to try to figure out what's going on. You got big 350-pound guys in front of you, and you got to look through and try to find safeties. And if they're on the hash or if they're moving and things like that, within those few, I don't know how long they're sitting there in their stance. It ain't long, but you have to read that, still be able to listen and hear the snap count, and then the job hasn't even started yet. You still got to snap the ball and block that 350-pounder. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I imagine consistency on that line is really important, too. It's one of the only position groups that plays just about every snap in the game. You hardly ever see consistent rotations like maybe you would see on the defensive line side of the ball. The offensive line is one of the most consistent groups in the game. So I got to imagine having consistent play with consistent people on that line is an important part to that as well.
Well, that's part of it, too. I mean, that's why you don't rotate a lot of offensive linemen, like you do on defense, because of that constant communication, trying to be on that same page. And especially like when you get on the road, we start traveling, let's say we win and we end up in Kansas City or something. You're not talking like you are at home. You're not yelling out which direction it's going. You're having to point it, and people are just going to have to, you have to be on that same page, like, you know what he's saying, even though you can't hear him say it because it's so loud. That's why you just don't change a lot of those guys, just because it's just a collective group. It's like a family. They just know each other, what each other's thinking without having to say it sometimes.
Yeah, it's not the backyard ready, set, hike. That's it. That certainly isn't that. It's a lot more communication. Hey, we're going to let you go in a couple minutes, but I want to ask you about Doug Peterson because you played for a lot of different coaches and respect a lot of coaches you played for. You're now coaching football at the high school level. It's amazing to me how much – I always think it's a player's game, Brad. And it's amazing to think that a guy that comes in, and I understand who he came after, but – can make such a difference, such an impact, where you hear players just constantly praising him and telling everybody that he is the difference maker. What does that look like from afar for you? Do you almost wish you were like in the building to feel that? Like, how's he doing all this?
I do. I really wish I was in that building just to hear that. Just because I'm on this end of it now, on the coaching end of it. I love learning and trying to figure out how people are doing that. And I think one of the big things, without even talking to him, or I've never, talked to Coach Peterson, but my thought is this: I think the guys just truly trust him. You know what I mean? I think he's down to earth, and they feel like he truly cares about them. And I think that's one of the big things, even for coaching at this level. You could yell and harp at kids and tell them all the right things, but if they don't feel like you truly care, and truly, that you have their best interest at heart, and you're doing everything you can. That's the difference maker, and I think that's probably the big difference right now is that they see Doug as a guy that truly truly cares, and a guy that they want to play for. That whatever he says goes. And they'll do anything they can for him. So I think that's probably one of the big things, and that's just the way I think he comes off sometimes. Even when I see him in media stuff and things like that, he's just a down-to-earth, regular guy out there just trying to do the best he can and truly cares about every one of them that's out there on that field.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
They're not just X's and O's. They're not just guys and dudes, and we're here to win a championship. He's truly wanting the best for those guys.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, man. Use the word trust. I think you're right on the money. And he is a genuinely good guy. Everybody down there says it. We knew that coming in. That's what everybody in Philly even said, even though it didn't work out in the long run for Philly. So I think you're right on the money with that. And it's amazing how far that goes. And a lot of the players will say, hey, we want to be treated like grown men. And obviously the last guy didn't do that that was in that building.
And people can tell that. People can say all the right things. A coach go out there and say all the right things about family and trust and all this other stuff, but players can read through that. Like they can feel, they can tell. There's just a gut instinct. This guy truly cares or he doesn't care. And I think there's that feeling like this guy truly cares about us, and we'll do whatever he asks of us. We'll do whatever he says because we believe him and trust in him. And I think that's an awesome thing. I'm glad that we have brought Doug in. I think he's been tremendous for us. There's a lot of good things to come in the future, too.
Brad Meester, Mr. Jaguar, former Jag center, he's coming to town this weekend to catch this playoff game. Obviously now a big fan of this Jacksonville Jaguars team. And I do have to pass along a message. In Nashville, you went to that Bold City Brigade party, and I think that was really fun. I missed that one. They want you to go to the Slab next. You got to go to the big tailgate party, Brad.
Is that where I'm supposed to go? I never know where I'm supposed to go. The Slab. Huh?
Booking Meester all over the place, aren't we?
Yeah. I'm like your agent. I'm like your booking agent.
At 1 o'clock. I'm booking it over. My kids got us busy. My one kid has volleyball in Chicago. So we're going to Chicago to take her there on Friday. And then so we're flying out of Chicago Saturday, watch the game, and then I'm literally leaving early Sunday morning so I can go back and watch my daughter play volleyball in Chicago again. That's what we'll do. I'll go from the airport, I'll find a parking spot, and maybe we'll check out the slab. I don't know where I was going. So
yeah, well, I'll let you know where to go with it if you want to go to the slab. They want you there, Brad Meester. They love you over there at the slab with the Boat City Brigade.
Oh, yeah.
And, we love you, too. Thanks for jumping in, man. Have fun at the game. Safe travels, and hopefully we'll talk to you this weekend.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Love the Meesters. They are a terrific family, good people, and have always revered Jacksonville from their time here. They'll be back here someday. When all those girls graduate, they're coming back to Jacksonville at some point, and they are here today, as I mentioned a couple of times. Early flight, and they got here and now watch this game and then get out of here tomorrow. I mean, they actually flew in for just the football game. They'll be here less than 24 hours. That's how much they wanted to be a part of it in Jacksonville today.
Yeah, they really wanted to be a part of it, and you got to love that as a fan that the former players have bought in, and we've talked about it a lot with Rasheen and Mojo, but just everybody wants to be a part of this Jags run. And yeah, I mean, my man's got an early flight, but it also says where his priorities are with his kids and being a dad, so that's cool to see as well.
Yeah, he was up in Pittsburgh for the playoff game, that second-round playoff game a few years back,
yeah.
And so I love seeing the Meesters. Shout out to Jamie Meester, Brad's wife. It was her birthday on Friday,
nice.
And hopefully they enjoy the festivities here tonight as we get closer and closer. Jaguars, Chargers, primetime, under the lights. This place rocking, everybody heading into the stadium, of course, and ready for a big-time football game. I think it's going to be an awesome game tonight when it kicks off at 8:15. Don't forget, Dual and Duval postgame show immediately following the football game, 11:30 right here on ESPN 690, all our platforms, but we double it up on the FM side, 104.5 WOKV as well, and you can call in the show. Write down this number, 904-362-9901. We want your comments, win or lose, after the game. We'll be right back here on ESPN 690 Game Day live from the Duval House, and hear from Big John Henderson as he gets set for the big first Duval coming up in just a few minutes.
In case you were wondering, Rasheen Mathis, big Trevor Lawrence guy.
He rolled out to his left and made a play to Agnew, I believe.
Yes, that's the play.
On the sideline. I was like, that's Mahomes, that's Lamar, that's Josh Allen. It's not too many quarterbacks that's going to make that throw. You know, even scramble like that. Find his way out of the pocket with poise and make that type of throw. Like, that's big-time football.
Hear more from Rasheen every Monday at 4 p.m., only on ESPN 690.
If you're experiencing domestic violence, it is not your fault. Hubbard House is here for you. You are not alone. Hubbard House provides free services and emergency shelter to survivors of domestic violence in Duval and Baker counties. Call 904-354-3114 anytime, 24/7 to confidentially speak to a caring advocate.
We've been in Jacksonville now for 15 years, and as you know and I know, we have to be ready for those hot days. And this time of year, the cooler temperatures, too. Need that AC working and then be ready to turn on the heat for a day or two. Bold City Heating and Air has us ready. They have for years. Can't say enough about their customer service. The communication, they are prompt, they are clean, they are good. Bold City Heating and Air, and right now, take advantage of their 0% financing on all purchases and just $97 for a tune-up. Be ready for the chilly weather and the heat. Bold City Heating and Air, boldcityac.com. Action Sports Jacks. Watch, listen, subscribe. You can watch us on CBS 47 and Fox 30. You can listen right here on ESPN 690. And you can subscribe to our YouTube and podcast, Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. Action Sports Jacks. Watch, listen, subscribe.
Now back to more of ESPN 690 Game Day Live from the Duval House. ESPN Game Day Live is brought to you by Polar Seltzer, Celsius, and Go Tuckin'. Back to Brent Martineau and Kasey Kuhrts.
Well, here we go now. We're just getting closer and closer minutes away from this kickoff in Jacksonville in prime time between the Chargers and the Jags. Wild card playoff round. Can the Jags get it done? And then you're just 2 wins away from the Super Bowl if you win this one here tonight. We got the big battle of the quarterbacks, of course. And this whole run reminds everybody of like 1996 and some of the earlier days, even in the 2000s, where this place was magical during some of the good years of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Big John Henderson was a part of that. We're going to hear from him in just a moment. Brent Martineau along with Kasey Kuhrts, ESPN 690 Game Day Live from the Duval House. Once again, sponsored by Go Tuckin', Polar Seltzer, and Celsius Essential Energy Drinks. Live fit. Kasey, it's fun to see these other players, these old players, be a part of it. And the Jags organization's doing a nice job mixing in old and new these last couple of weeks especially.
Yeah, they've done a really good job, and I think they've got no better guy to do the first DUUUVAL tonight. Things are going to get fired up. So, yeah, they've done a really good job bringing everybody involved. We just talked about it with Brad Meester, just coming as a fan. So the Jags have reached out to the alumni, and the alumni has really answered the bell. Guys signing autographs before the game as well. So just a really good job by the Jags to get everybody involved, and that's why I think the Jags fan base kind of feels like a family, right? You got the fans involved, but you also have the older players, the newer players. Everybody's all in for one goal, and that's the Jags.
Really does feel like everybody in Jacksonville right now is all going in the one direction, right? Everybody's pulling in the same direction, and that's a fun thing to see. And as we discuss in this interview with Big John Henderson this week with Aaron Schachter, yourself, and myself, we got a job for John Henderson. We think Hype Man could be definitely on his future plans. We got to find a role for him in that regard. Here's the conversation. You'll hear more about that coming up right now with Big John Henderson. Brent Martineau, Aaron Schachter, Kasey Kuhrts. Might have John Henderson calling in here in a little bit, so stay tuned for that. He is. All right, well, let's jump right into Big John as he joins us here on Action Sports Jacks and Brent and Friends on ESPN 690. Big John Henderson, are you okay to talk right now, or you want to warm up the pipes for tomorrow night?
No, I'm ready to talk, baby. Let's go.
Hey, how did you? When did you know you were going to do this? And how much are you looking forward to getting 70,000 fans fired up on Saturday night?
Well, they called me, but I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember. But then when he said, I said, yes, sir, I'm allowed to do that. I love to do that now. Now, getting them hyped up, that's what I love to do, baby. That's what I love to do.
Yeah, so I feel like, John, you could have like a whole fifth career now, just hyping people up for normal everyday stuff, like standing next to some dude's bed. He's got to get up for work. You're like, okay, let's go.
That's a good idea. Though, man. I can do that right there.
Yes.
Hey, if they need me.
A guy like Jeff Bezos, you think he could take over the world with John Henderson screaming at him?
Hey, Aaron, that's a great bit, man. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Big John, we got to work on this in the marketing world, man. We get you in the grocery store firing people up, ready to shop or something or check out.
Hey, you let me know and I'm ready. You let me know I'm ready.
That's great. Hey, you know what's really cool? We talked to Brad Meester yesterday. We talked to Rasheed Mathis every week on the show, and Maurice Jones-Drew and Clay Harbor, who played for the Jags. And we've talked to you over at Sneakers in Jack's Beach, Jags Report Live show. We've had you on. A great job, by the way, with the Christmas toy drive that you did. Oh, yeah. And I can feel your excitement as former Jags players to see this thing turning. And where do you think that excitement comes from? Is it just like a finally it's happening, or is it just thank goodness these fans deserve it? Like, where does it come from?
I mean, for us as players, it's always in us. It's just you just want the fans to get in there and feel the same thing that you feel every day when you step out on that field. You know, and then just the way the guys look at the guys how they playing, man. That's exciting. You know, for me, I ain't even playing, Brent. I'm just like, want to be there, but I'm going to cheer them on, make sure everybody stay hyped up, and we go take it on in, you know?
That's awesome. I think the other part of this is, can you sense, and we talked about this morning on Morning Madness here at ESPN 690, we said the difference between 2017 and maybe this one is it feels like this is the start of something, Big John, with Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence. Like, this could be fun around here for quite some time. Do you sense that too?
Yes, I do. And it all started with coaching. That coaching staff they brought in was what it is, man. And when you got a great coach, you got a great head coach, you got a great coaching staff, you want to play with them. You want to play for them. You want to play for them. And that's how it's always been. And that's how I think them guys is coming together. They want to play with these guys.
Big John Henderson with us. He'll do the first DUUUVAL tomorrow night in prime time for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Probably 70,000 plus under the lights. The whole world watching once again, and it was electric last Saturday. We expect the same thing against the Chargers coming up tomorrow night. You know, I've really been preaching how important the interior of the defense is for the pass rushers to be able to do what they want to do. You know that better than anybody. You and Stroud were able to cave the middle of offensive lines. As you watch this football football team. Is that been a big part of it? The guys like Roy Robertson-Harris in the middle, Devon Hamilton, even a Foley Fatukasi at times, have those guys just been playing a lot better, and is that why the pass rush has been able to get home a little bit more?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you why. They're changing the line of scrimmage. They're causing the running back to study his feet because they in the back. They're putting the lineman in the back. So I that's all I'm watching. You know me, I'm a defensive guy, so I'm watching because it's one up front. It starts up front, it's one up front, and they change the game. And then them getting after them relentlessly. I mean, it's beautiful, man. It is beautiful.
Yeah, John, you spent so much time not just being a great player on the field, but also motivating those in the locker room. We've talked a lot over the last couple of weeks about the job that this coaching staff has done motivating people in that locker room. Does it make you feel like you want to get back towards the game? I know you've been an entrepreneur for years now. Are you still connected to football in any way, or are you putting that behind you?
No, not really. I mean, we never know what opportunities come, but I really enjoy just being around the fans. It's new, it's an experience, and I can get them hyped. So just giving them experience and giving them the things that might go on in the game and how to explain. It's been fun for me. I've been loving doing that for this past year. So, yeah, I'm enjoying this new little part right here. I like this. I like it.
Former Jags legend John Henderson with us right now on Brent and Friends on ESPN690. I think you're going to sign some autographs and stuff tomorrow as well. Wherever you go, you probably sign autographs.
Most likely.
Do you love the connection between kind of this new wave Jags and all the success here this year, but also this town never forgets you guys and what you guys brought to the table when you played?
I'm glad they don't forget. I enjoy it. You miss it. So I enjoy it, man. The connections, I'm just glad we got everybody back on in with the Jaguars, man. Even the people that's been forgot about and gave their tickets away, they back, so that's a good. I'm just glad to see them all back now. So, we used to deal with blackouts.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a real deal.
Yeah, they're all excited.
70,000 is something serious. That is beautiful, man. I love it.
It is a beautiful thing to see. Hey, are you going to be? That's a lot of people to perform in front of when you don't have a uniform on. Are you going to be a little nervous?
Oh, somebody said, should I get slapped? I said, no, too old for that one. But I think I can get myself juiced up. I'm going to have my big chain on, so I'll be ready.
I love the fact that you have embraced it, too. I mean, you are such a good football player, all your college and in the NFL, of course. But the slap is like your identity.
It's iconic.
It's an iconic thing around here. Yeah,
it happened at a time where things were just starting to go viral around the world, and it went super viral. It was so great.
They're like the family members and stuff. Are they like, this is a very weird thing, John, to be known for?
Hey, I just told him it's a routine. That's all. I had to get the butterflies out.
It's great.
I needed the first contact,
Hey, what you've seen out of this football team, we'll let you go, but appreciate you jumping in a little bit, getting everybody excited for that first DUUUVAL tomorrow night. They're going to be fired up. They love you here in Jacksonville, of course. I know you're rooting for the Jags to win. The way you look at football, the way you see what the Jags have been doing lately, and you know a little bit about the Chargers as well, I'm sure, from the distance. Do you like their chances?
Oh, I hope you said the Jaguar chances. Yeah, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to win. I believe, baby. I know we're going to win. All we got to do is everybody do their job and go out there and do what they always been doing. And we can do it. But the Chargers, they gonna come in and do their thing, too, but Jaguars all the way.
Well, they do their job. You're the tone setter. You do your job tomorrow night. Can't wait to see you on the big screen inside that stadium. Big John Henderson with the first DUUUVAL. Thanks for jumping in for a few minutes here on ESPN 690, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys.
That's going to be a cool moment here. Just a couple minutes inside that stadium for the first DUUUVAL 8:15 kickoff coming up here shortly in prime time. Remember, we've got full coverage after the game, 11:30 on ESPN 690. Also on 104.5 WOKV, the Dual and Duval postgame show. Also want to tell you that we have coverage on TV on CBS 47 at 11:30. So right after this football game, we've got you covered with the Action Sports Shacks brands, as we always do. Hope you can be a part of it. Call in, chime in, hopefully it's a good thing to talk about like it was last week when we had that post-game show. ESPN 690 Game Day live from the Duval House, about to wrap up. Kasey Kuhrts, what you got tonight in this football game?
It's a great question, man. I think it's a toss-up. I think it's the best game of the playoff weekend. I think it'll be close. Mike Williams is going to be, not being in the football game is going to be a big factor for them. I think it comes down to Keenan Allen and what they do with him to try to get the mismatch, and then it comes down to Trey Herndon, how he's going to play on him. But I think what's really fun is both quarterbacks are going to go shot for shot. If Justin Herbert makes a throw, I think we believe Trevor Lawrence is going to make that same throw and maybe even one-up him. And you know what? I said some things, some wild things on Friday during the show. I changed my mind. Give me the Jags.
I like it.
Give me the Jags.
I like it. We've turned you as we get closer and closer. I like the Jags all week in this game. I think it's a 50-50 toss-up, but the intangibles certainly go the Jags' way. Longer rest for them at home. Don't have to fly across the country. They have more faith in their coach than the other team has in their coach. And I think we're going to see two young gun quarterbacks really show off in prime time tonight. I've got the Jags 37-33. Got to have the ball last to win this football game, or maybe make a stop at the end and hold them out of the end zone. We'll see what happens. It's coming up. We appreciate you hanging with us on all our coverage here on ESPN 690. For Brian Middleton, Kasey Kuhrts, I'm Brent Martineau. Been fun hanging at the ESPN 690 Game Day live from the Duval House pregame show. We'll see you on the postgame show coming up right after the game. Enjoy it, everybody.
Anybody can win at Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Tampa. One jackpot is paid out every minute on the hottest slot machines and table games. With over $2 billion in jackpots paid out in the last year, you could be the next lucky winner. Seminole Hard Rock Tampa has over 800 rooms and suites, a luxurious rock spa and salon, award-winning restaurants, and an exciting comedy and concert lineup, including pool parties with world-renowned artists. With a variety of gaming, dining, and entertainment options, anybody can win at Seminole Hard Rock Tampa.
Ready to hit the open road and see America? Island Oaks, located just west of Jacksonville, Florida, is the perfect place to set up camp. With lakeside lots, swimming, fishing, dining, ball courts, live music, events, and new activities daily, there's something for everyone here. Call or text 904-906-6779 or visit islandoaksrv.info for weekly specials. Come solo for lasting memories, or bring the family and friends for a fun-filled vacation. No RV? No problem. Island Oaks now offers lots, equipped with ready-to-stay RVs in a variety of sizes to fit your vacation needs. No matter what you choose, you're sure to have a great time at Island Oaks RV Resort. Book your stay today. Call or text 904-906-6779 or visit islandoaksrv.info for weekly specials.
Hey guys, this is Keenan Thompson. I have a problem with you. Yes, you. None of y'all told me that AutoTrader has millions of new and used cars that I can shop from home. I thought we were friends. I put smiles on your face, but I'm not smiling. No one told me that with AutoTrader, a dealer can deliver cars to my home, or that I could shop by price on AutoTrader. No one. Consider this friendship that you just learned we had officially over. Finally, it's easy. AutoTrader.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN690, a Cox Media Group station.